Let's talk about climate change, because I think that the average person doesn't really understand what is climate change, what part do they play in it, and what are governments doing about it? Do governments even understand it? What is this thing, climate change?
Well, you're right. I mean, to some extent, this is a little bit confusing to me because I've been studying this since 1992, and the first sort of recordings around carbon dioxide were 1958, I think, or 53. The greenhouse effect globally was first described in the 1800s, so it's not like this is new. And yet, why are we in this position where there does seem to be a lot of misinformation and misunderstanding about it? I like to bring it down to really concrete terms. So what is weather? Weather's what's happening outside right now. Now, if you take 30 years of weather, that allows you to average it out. 30 years of weather is classified right around the world by all of the equivalent of our Bureau of Meteorology as enough weather to give you a climate for a region. So when we talk about somewhere like Bathurst, we say, oh, the Bathurst climate is nice. Well, what is our climate? Our climate is the average of 30 years of weather. So if we were to compare 1980 to 2010 with another period, say 1970 to 2000, then you can actually measure the difference in those averages, and that is climate change. It's a statistically measurable phenomenon based on data. And so when you're sort of saying, well, do you believe in climate change or not, it kind of makes no sense, because actually the data is telling you that those averages have changed. I guess where the conversation then goes and where it gets sticky is whether you think humans have had a hand in making that change more dramatic than perhaps it would have been.
So what are your thoughts on that? Have humans given it a big helping hand?
Look, Janine, I mean, I have been fortunate enough to travel a lot, and I can't see much of the planet that humans haven't influenced. And what I think, people struggle with this idea that small things can make a difference. There's some classic examples with grains of rice, and it's only a tiny number. It's only 0.05% of a certain gas in the atmosphere. And to that I would say, well, try driving with 0.05% alcohol in your bloodstream and see how that goes. These things small things can make a big difference. There certainly is an argument to say, well, hang on, hasn't the climate always been changing? And the reality is, yes, it has. These hills out here were covered in 1 kilometre of ice at some point in our history. And, if you go diving off the coast in Sydney, you'll find Aboriginal art underwater. So we know that things have always been changing. The question to me is not whether you believe in climate change, but whether you think there is enough evidence to support the case that humans have had an impact. And for that, you have to, you're into the realm of mathematics there. You're into the realm of data analysis and modelling, and that's where people lose, I guess, the ability to understand. Suddenly you're into a language of trust, and then you just fall back to people's belief systems.
Ash, do you think the difficulty for a lot of people is that they walk outside their door and everything looks the same? They might go, oh, it's a bit warm for winter in the Central Tablelands, but basically everything looks the same. So it's, well, what really is this, and why should I care about it?
Well, absolutely. And I mean, the other factor there is how short the human window is. Our lifespans are so short in comparison. So, I'm in my 40s. I remember not being able to make it to school 3 times a year on average because the bus couldn't get through the snow. Now, 2 out of the last 5 years, the road hasn't even closed. So I noticed that, but most people in Bathurst wouldn't. What does that matter? Well, we can go into that another time perhaps, the difference, the changes in ecosystems, the animals that don't exist here anymore because they actually wanted that cold and that snow, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, you're right. I mean, what we've done as humans has been really successful in controlling our own comfort. So if it gets hot, we turn the aircon on. We jump into our cars now and they're climate controlled. And you're right, for most of us, there's no real direct impact.